thank you for joining me. This is Laurie of Laurie's Heirloom Sewing. So I'm planning to do the neck pillow. I think I might have mentioned this in the last video. This was a pattern that I found online, and I don't recall where. I don't know if it was through Pinterest, if it was just an online search. I don't know. I don't remember. But this is the website, so hopefully that's still viable. This is the pattern that I'm going to be using today. But first, I'm having my hibiscus tea, and my cup is getting condensation all over my sewing table. So before I go any further, I'm just going to make a little coaster for that cup. So I have a kind of square piece of fabric. I'm going to cut this in half. Like that. And then I'm going to stack that on top so I have them like this. I'm going to do a rough fold with a finger press just to kind of get where the center is. And I'm going to cut along with a sharper pair of scissors. I'm going to cut along that fold that I create, or that line that I created with that fold, so that now I have 4 pieces of fabric. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with this piece of fabric because I accidentally cut 2 for that McCall's tote bag that I made. I cut 1 extra of this and I didn't need it, and I thought, what the heck am I going to do with that? Well, I now know I need 1 more piece of fabric that I'm going to grab from my stash. And this was left over from placemat, so let's see if I have enough. Oh, I do. Alright, so I'm just going to take a friction pin. This is a heat erase pen, so if I could cut it or draw it on the wrong side. I think I'll go ahead and just use this edge of the fabric. And with my pen straight up, not at an angle, I'm going to trace around the remaining 3 sides. Sometimes it's hard to remember to keep the pen absolutely straight up and down, but it does make a difference. I'll show you. This bottom line, I had the pen at an angle. The top line, I was holding it straight up and down. So there's a huge difference in those lines. So I need a piece of interfacing that's a little fleecy because I want something that will absorb condensation from the cup. And I had cut this piece out a long time ago for another project. As you can see, I have drawn on it. And I ended up doing something different. So today, I'm just going to make 4 marks. I don't want this going all the way into the seam allowance. The way I'm going to do this is fold each of these. Ooh, they're not straight. I'm so shocked. They kind of have to be somewhat squared up. And when I do these, you know, precisely, it's generally a 5-inch square. Okay, so for the final of these, I'll zoom in just a bit. Okay. So we had the first one in this corner, and then the second one went to the next, the third one went to this one, and all you really need to remember is it's the 2 points that you can separate like this. So not where the fold is, but on the opposite end of where the fold is. Like that. I'll just let you look at that for just a minute to kind of let it gel. We have one corner left. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in the fourth corner, we're going to put this one where the 2 corners meet. We're going to lay it down. We're going to fold it back on itself like that. We're going to lift this one up, drop that one down, and now they're kind of sort of somewhat locked in place. Just gonna let that sit over there, okay? Now I'm gonna put my sewing machine in needle down, straight stitch, just your default. And you might find that clipping these down will help you, or pinning, which you could do. You could just pin all the way around in that manner if you need to do that. We're just going to stitch 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Possible that because I didn't measure, I may have missed, but I'll know when I turn this the proper direction. At the moment, I'm just going to trim down the excess. I don't need all this, bulk. And now from here, you just turn it to this direction. And that is why you wanted your fabric on the bottom facing up, so that when you turned it this direction, it would be properly faced. Okay, and then take a turning tool. If you're using glassware with a stem, you can slip it in, and then you're walking around, the base of your stem ware is inside your little coaster, so no matter where you go, you've got it, and you can set it down anywhere. Okay, so this is clearly going to be too big. I will trim it. I'm not using my fabric scissors to cut this because I don't want, it's Insulbright has a aluminum foil type product in there. So I'm just going to slip this in to sort of help give it a little bit of protective lining, so that whatever I put this on will have that Insulbright in there, and it will help absorb some of the liquid. So now I can put my tea. I love hibiscus tea. Right on top of that. So, next project is the neck travel pillow. And yesterday I was talking about these fabrics that I received. I absolutely adore them. I'll be right back. Okay, so thought I would demo this just a little bit. These are pattern weights that I made from the Simplicity pattern. So this is the pattern. It's Simplicity 8532, and the pattern weights that I made are E, but of course because I am who I am, I changed them up. They are similarly shaped. I did use the actual pattern piece, but I changed everything else. So BBs in here, which makes them super heavy. They won't move. I mean, I don't know if that's showing, but trying to pull this is, you know, it's just not happening. So I love these little guys. I made 10 of them. The other thing I wanted to point out is I didn't leave my fabric folded on the fold that the fabric came to me folded on. So like if you bought this off of a bolt of fabric, you would have that fold. It's always folded in half. Generally speaking, quilting cotton is. But I opened it up and folded it differently, and I'm going to scoot it a little bit more because I don't want to waste a whole chunk right out of the middle when I can save quite a bit of my fabric by just refolding it. So here we have one side of our neck pillow, and here is the other side. I mean, you can call one the top and one the bottom, but at any given moment they would trade places. So we're going to put them right sides together. I'm leaving these two folds pressed because I can match that. And that's where I'm going to be turning it to the other side. But there's a technique I want to show you, and that is I'm going to fold down the edge right here. And I'm going to press it. I'm not going to be all, you know, picky about how much, but, you know, anywhere from 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. And it's just so that when I turn this to the right side, this will be held in place by that pressed, folded down edge, which will make the finish stitching on this opening so much easier to accomplish. So there I have folded and pressed that down. And I mean, I could actually start sewing just on this side of that stitch, which I think I will do. I'm just going to follow these curves. I'm going to use the side of my foot as my seam guide here. trim these threads. Now the next step, because we have a lot of curves, we have curves here, we have curves here, I'm going to trim those with just little snips. Now if you want to, especially in this section right here, that I will stitch over again. And then you just take some sharp scissors and cut just to help that fabric relax into that curve. Right, and you can actually, I forgot, you can see on this side I have red in my bobbin, so you can see my stitching. That's where I ran off the road when I got the cramp in my leg. Oops, there's a spot I missed right there. I was hoping I would. That's one of those things that happens when you're sewing two pieces of fabric together. Sometimes you will have something like that happen. So I left the opening, the on-purpose opening, and I'm just going to grab that and pull it through, but I'm not going to pull it all the way. I'm just going to get this one section that I missed right here across the top. I'm just going to leave that balled up like that and go back to my sewing machine. And then lock those stitches. Okay. Now this is a corner, a curve, an outside curve that I need to clip. So I've got to remember to do that, because now this fabric was caught with stitches. Okay. And then just turn this back and make sure that I got it. I did. See, I don't have any folds or puckers, and it's nice and tight. The sewing is nice and tight. So I'll go press this down. Okay, so as you can see, here it is. This is the purple daisy side. This is the striped roses side. It has been pressed, and now it's time to fill with some polyfill. Before I finish this up, I'm going to sew on one of my handmade labels. And I may end up putting in polyfill. I don't know at this point. Okay, so I had to switch out the the memory card on my camera. So what we got here now is this little opening, and as we go, we're going to see there's a lot of fabric. So we need to leave a little bit of an opening. You don't even have to tie off your needle and thread, because we need to just put a little bit more filler in here. This is where if you happen to have hemostats that works really, really well at just getting it, you know, where you want it. Take it from one who sews. Chopsticks are a great sewing notion. Look at that, it's just pushing it right there where I wanted it to go. Ah, excellent. Should always have these, always. Perfect, all right. Just a tiny little bit. I'll use the chopstick to kind of poke it in there with. The tweezers would work, you know, if you have, in fact, I'll show you. Oh, I even have these little needle nose. You can just use those and kind of poke it in there. Or if you don't happen to have those, just some tweezers, just kind of grab onto it and then just push through the opening. It might be a little fiddly, but there we go. And then just kind of smoosh it. Smoosh is always a good word for this. Massage this to help distribute some of this filling, but I really think it, I mean, it's a little lumpy and bumpy, but you know, that's what gives these things some charm, and you can, you know, force that filling to behave. So we have our little purple daisies on one side and we have our rosy stripe. The recipient will enjoy it, I believe. That you enjoyed the little pillow tutorial, the little coaster tutorial. If there are others that you would like to learn or techniques you'd like to learn how to do, please, you know, leave a comment down below, and I'm happy to help you with those. I think the lawn fabric that I was talking about in my video yesterday may have arrived, and if it has, I will be working on the material for our heirloom sewing, which I'm really looking forward to. I can't wait to get busy on that. So thank you again, and I will see you the next time.